I remember that night very well. I was only 8 years old. My mom made me kept saying I would not do it. Have bad dreams. Then they took me to the Park movie theater in Cranston, Rhode Island, to Earth. Look at this island. To a kid you said to only seeing the world through a 12 TV in the living room that is black and white. At that point, it felt like I was being shot, going straight into space. In Technicolor meteor showers filled the screen. It rained on an alien world, and it almost made me get up from my seat. To get under the row behind me hide. That being said, as the innocent sofas my childhood faded, I watched the movie again. And saw that behind those mysterious Technicolor frames wasn't magic, it was unsettling facts. Do you really think that the most scary part of the movie was when the metal Luna creature grabs the woman it had lead in its arms? Wasn't some a metaphor, but a rough take that the whole body of Faith Demurg was hurt? Or the leading lady, Faith Dem, came into this film after being smashed by Hollywood itself, and even the actor who played the alien ex-lover didn't talk to many people on set. This morning, let's take off the 15 strange things about this island Earth. 1955, one of the most crazy scientific fiction movies that Universal had ever made around that time. Remember the scene where the lab doors open and close open, and the metal surfaces show there is cold light, and the intercom spins. Inside tubes made of glass that glow brightly. That was a risky investment by everything. The amount was $800,000. About what this island Earth needs to living at that time, and a place where Universal picked up a big deal with its science fiction. It was a very high in the middle of the 1950s, putting the movie among the most the studio had high-end sci-fi projects ever tried to do back then. Did not only sets and props cost money, but Universal also shot in bright Technicolor, a format that's usually only used for songs or epics, but not often for a movie about monsters or space. Maker of William Allen was very aware of what he was putting. Instead of shopping for cheap backgrounds, Allen put a lot of money into shiny metal labs and bright interior transmission chambers, and in large-made models of spaceships. The unique scenes with special effects from the flight through up into space and down to the surface of metal, critics at the time gave Luna grades. As one of the best to ever show up on screen. These two things together made it a high-end Technicolor and visual effects, the drive that made this island Earth appear very different from most sci-fi movies of the time, grand and fancy and just as important as any other major the Hollywood style. 14. Based on a heavy novel before going on the big screen, this island Earth began as a quiet story tucked away in the pages of a pulp magazine. Raymond F. Jones is a writer. It in the book Thrilling Wonder Stories in 1952. A rare piece of writing that dared to approach science fiction with common sense considering instead of relying on shock of sight. His story was about politics, ethics, and philosophy during back when most sci-fi stories still came from the area around giant ants and radiation. Bad things. Why did Universal buy this? They did not just buy an alien. Script for invasion. They bought an idea, the question of whether between civilizations could really save the world is dying. That depth made this project that is very different from the monster movies that the studio had made before. 13. A co-star who hasn't really broken virtues. Remember the scene from Exat? He was standing still in his silver suit. His cold eyes cutting through people, his voice was low, as if he were thinking about everything. Breath of a society on the verge of going extinct. That calmness was great. It wasn't just acting either. Not everyone Earth was on the set of this Islanda-friendly setting in the Hollywood style. Later, actress Faith Degg said that Jeff Morrow, who played the alien ex-boyfriend, a very far-away person. He didn't say much, rarely made jokes, and almost never talked after the cameras stopped rolling. This is the reason why it seems like Morrow has always kept Demurg himself in the role. He didn't see X not just a part, but as it were the smarts, self-control, and sadness off a civilization that is dying. To keep that feeling going, Morrow he actively cut himself off from the crew. He spoke slowly and paid more attention than he did. Made friends. This method led to a cold, performed with honor, and it was really works well on screen. But behind the scenes, which made the mood tense, Dem once said that working with Morrow wasn't like being with a not co-star, but more like stood next to something that didn't belong on Earth. 12. The metal Luna shapeshifter had twice polite to wear pants. There's a scene on this island Earth that many adult viewers watch it again and again. Take a break. Ruth is grabbed by the metal Luna mutant, Adams, who pulled her close in a way that is both violent and hard to describe. Its upper body is clean, biological horror story. A messed up head, eyes that stick out and claws that curve. However, from the waist down, it looks very good. Pants. That specifics were not in the script at all. At first, the lower the creature's body was made in eighth hole biological style, continuing its insect-like body. But when they started making them, the rubber legs kept tearing. The joints that move got stuck, and seeing a person in that suit come into getting in touch with the female lead directly during scenes of struggle started to worry the crew, and not just in terms of about censorship and a fear of showing too much of the real world. The fastest answer: put some pants on it. Something of everything below was hidden by fabric. Bugs in the way they made the fight scene on screen less strangely careful. It's funny because those pants made the scene stand out even more. That thing was no longer a pure alien. Something. It turned into a half person, half beast, leaving the audience scared and confused at the same time. 11. The double deal of the director. Manager Joseph Newman didn't just want to make movies, Earth is this island. He wanted to be in charge. It was destined. When you leave the 20th Century Fox in 1953, Newman came across Raymond F. Jones' novel and knew right away that this was a very rare chance to move up the ladder. He did something brave because of this. He bought the rights with his own money, they hired a screenwriter to work on the adaptation, and then took the whole package to the door to Universal. His deal had a condition is clear. The studio could have they had to buy his script for this story. And give him the director's chair. In particular. It was a powerful move in when you were a director in the 1950s mainly known for Western movies and low-cost noirs. The move did work, though. Universal was looking for a sci-fi project. With the appeal of high-end movies, not at innies. I agree. Newman quickly changed his mind about a project lawyer to the leader of one of the most expensive science fiction movies of the 10 years. 10. The story wasn't science fiction. Why enough? If you've ever been mesmerized by the lights that shined on Thean Rossiter and thought about why this movie's so emotional, the answer in the script. The time Universal read the first draft of This Earth Island, the response was pretty cool. The producer William Allen was the one who thought of a monster from the Black Lagoon. It was too dry and logical of a story. Did not have a clear emotional anchor. To him, there was more to science fiction than just ideas. It had to be alive. Allen's answer seemed like an odd choice. Getting in Franklin Cohen is a movie writer. Writing mostly detective stories with there is no sci-fi background at all. Clark had never touched aliens or travel between planets. But that was precisely the reason he was asked to rewrite the script from scratch, with a focus on feelings and motivations of people instead of phrases used in science. Because of this, there was a clear change in the movie's tone from going from hard science to feelings and morals. This island Earth turned into a story about not just between species, but also within species about trying to get away or staying alive. 9. The fight over Rex Rez's name. Before the movie began, Universalto changed the name of their new lead actor. Worker. The stage name was given to Rex Reza Bart Roberts, because the studio thought it didn't sound like their real name. Makes sense. It was funny because it was real. Name that sounded more like a hit movie. New idea. Reasons wouldn't he make a deal? He asked that his name be spelled show up in the credits, even if it meant losing the first big lead role of his work life. Making that choice took guts. In the 1950s, a pretty unknown actor, especially at a studio that isn't known for giving actors a lot of power. In the end, he won. Rex Reasons is his name. Stayed on the posters and turned into one names that people remember from the 1950s. It's science fiction. It was the first of many fights for power behind the scenes, just to remind you that even in a movie about aliens, the real fights happened on Earth. 8th. Faith Demerg's wound shoot. Do you remember when Ruth Adams is pulled and falls between the metal hallways and the cold, damp room's ground of metal Luna on the screen? There was tension for a short time. Really, movie days were what were left of his life. Faith Demerg is almost worn out. This one island Earth was made, Hollywood didn't know what on-set safety was. Like we do now. Demerg had to do what almost all of her own stunts, pushed down, pulled, and drenched in cold water, and having a direct battle with the moon metal mutant in its thick rubber suit. There were no stunt doubles or protective no filler, just a fast-paced shooting pace Technicolor lights that are too hot. After the Demerg said that the movie was finished, that her body was bruised all over all the way down to her feet, and she had to take some days off. Taking painkillers just to keep filming. It's funny because she was once shaped by Howard Hughes will become a big star in the future, but it was this tough part that showed how tough she really was as an actress. 7. Ideas for UFOs from real life. Remember the strange ship slowly as its curved metal hull falls, a cold blue light back at it as if it didn't belong on Earth. That scene wasn't just impressive because of the extra effects. It got to a very real fear of people in the 1950s. The plane's Earth wasn't a saucer on this island made up and whole. It was made to be directly based on the famous UFO movie from 1950 Seeing Something in McMinnville, Oregon. At that time, a farmer named Paul Trent caught two pictures of a round object being above his farm. These pictures were printed in nearby newspapers and it quickly spread all over the US, becoming one of the most talked about pieces of UFO proof from that time. Universal's design team worked hard to make looked at that shape. A smooth curved hull, no wings, and a vague picture offshine. That's why they kept the metal Luna ship that looks awkward known, like something the audience you could have read in the paper last night or in the sky at night. It was a smart move. Instead of just a made-up choice anything, the ship carried the feeling, which means that this story might be true. 6. Earth became the brand. When you look at globe that spun at the start of an old movie from Universal, it's very more than likely you're looking at a leftover prop from this island, Earth. Doesn't it seem strange? Doesn't it? That's right. The effects team at the studio made a small model of Earth for the space scenes in the movie with a high-level off-swirling clouds shine light on a detail and a faint glow in the sky. When the filming was over, Universal did not get rid of it. Those plans were kept and slowly changed it into the picture that represents the studio itself. This logo showed up before every Universal movies from the 1950s to the 1980s, serving as a silent report of the studio's plans for movies. It was their some method of getting more value from a pricey prop that helps the brand a futuristic look. Because of this, every time the Universal movie starts with that beautiful, it's not just a sign that the planet is spinning. It sounds like Earth from this island, the movie that really made their logo famous into space. 5. 2 directors, 1 goal. Middle in the middle of production, Universal don't worry. The first test footage from the movie director Joseph Newman was thought to be too slow, too much dialogue, and not enough off-visual punch that a top-notch science needs a fiction film. Behind in silence, the studio brought in Jack Arnold, the second director, who had made his name with Creature from They It Came From Outside Black Lagoon, Lots of Room. Arnold had to do filming important scenes again, especially the parts of the planet Metal Luna. His being able to make people tense, and the movie had dramatic images that gives Universal the boost it needs, but this also meant that two very several styles lived together in a piece of work. The smart man Newman tone that is a bit cold and slow, Arnold's pulp direct hit each other power. In place of cancelling each other out as it turns out, these two approaches mixed, making a movie that was both weird and serious, ambitious but had a distinct 1950s entertainment feel. 4. A group of 3 composers. When it was time to score on this island Earth, Universal wanted music that had a bigger sound. Stronger than life, strong enough to make the audience thought they were drifting between the galaxies. They didn't hire just one composer. Studio asked Henry Mancini, Hans Zimmer, N.H. Stein and Jay Salter, the group that made the unforgettable It Sounds Like the Creature from the Black Lagoon. Together, they made a world of music off tense strings, driving brass and experimental sounds made of electronics that were very brave for the 1950s. Mancini, who would write the music brought for the Pink Panther, Sophistication and Order, while Salter and Stein were interested in unease and a feeling of danger. This led to one of the scariest music for science fiction movies of the time. A mix of fear and beauty that made Earth feel more like an island, more like an opera from another world than a B-movie. 3. The middle part, the machine that almost fell apart, the set. Earth, if you've seen this island, you remember the scene where Calder is Metcham in front of the interocitor lights and spinning tubes that work together, flashing as if they had their own intelligence, and a screen that lets aliens to talk to each other across galaxies. It looked like a device ahead on the screen. Of the time. It was a bad dream. What the prop team got aspirational plans from the design staffing. There are too many moving parts, there were a lot of effects that had to be real, the first one didn't work. How the spinning the tubes weren't working together. The lights quickly flashed, and it felt clearly a fake. It was the second one. Better, but the screen wasn't lined up right. When the images were slow and skewed that actors spoke. It was taken apart and built up again. The third one is Theon that was used in the movie, almost 6 weeks. All of the dials worked. The light pulse happened at the exact moment and the pre-recorded video played on the screen at just the right time. When it finally went well, and the whole crew thrilled. But Universal quickly they knew they couldn't make a second one. The same one. The plan was too fancy and custom made. The answer was a smart trick. Pick one, you can film it over and over from different points of view and change the sets in the area. 2. Reason Rex did not want this part. When the Universal gave him the part of Dr. Kalmichum, Rex Reasons read the script and was a lot of energy, talking to people was half the movie. 2 machines, and the other 2 were running away, not the kind of rubber monster she wanted a serious part. The Reasons was Ahe was a contract actor, and the studio told him straight up, take the role or be. That's why he walked onto the set. Having the goal of just getting the job done. Strange things did happen, though. During the filming. The more he interacted with the Interocitor, the elaborate flying saucer sets and the planet Metaluna, the more reason realized this was no ordinary B-movie. The production design was beautiful. The script had depth and his co-star Faith demertriated her role like a Shakespearean play. So he adjusted. Reasons played Cal Mecham with the sincerity and composure of a scientist facing the impossible. No sarcasm, no exaggeration, that decision elevated the film. Later, Reasons admitted he was wrong. When asked which role made him most proud, he simply smiled and replied, "The Intercitor." 1. Faith Degg carried the title of Hollywood royalty, but was cursed by circumstance. Howard Hughes discovered Faith molded her star power and then controlled her to the point of paralyzing her career. By the time she came to this island, Earth Demg had endured a series of cancelled projects and broken promises. Universal cast her almost out of contractual obligation, not out of faith. But Demurg did not waste the opportunity. She treated Dr. Ruth Adams like a real scientist studying technical jargon, correcting scientific errors in the script and pushing back against moments that were too melodramatic. That seriousness anchored the film to the ground. You believe Ruth is a scientist before she is a lover. After the film, her career did not explode as it should have. But Domeg once said this was one of the few times Hollywood allowed her to be intelligent, capable, and necessary. And the film was better because of it. So what about you? Which moment from This Island Earth 1955 is the one you remember most? Leave asimething. And if you want to continue unlocking other deleted scenes from Hollywood's golden age, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. You will be surprised by what Hollywood has kept hidden from you for decades.